مسيرة العلم والمعرفة مسيرة متواصلة.
The journey of knowledge is continuous, it doesn't stop. As is the case with other sectors, it is on a crossroad. What awaits us at 2050?
الذكاء الاصطناعي المعادلة مع دخول تطبيقات مثل شات جي بي تي حياتنا اليومية. كما من المتوقع أن ينتشر التعليم عن بعد بشكل أوسع مع حصول 90% من العالم على إنترنت في منازلهم بحلول عام 2050. من دون أن ننسى عوالم الميتافيرس التي تفتح آفاقاً جديدة في المنظومة التعليمية وتجارب التعلم الغامر من خلال الواقع المعزز التي ستوفر تجارب تعلم مخصصة لكل طالب بحسب إمكانياته ورغباته. إن دراسة هذه المتغيرات واستيعابها سيساعداننا على رسم سيناريوهات وبدائل ويتيحان لنا الفرصة لتشكيل المستقبل الذي نريده لأحفادنا وتهيئته، فالتغيير آت لا محالة. كيف نستعد لعام 2050؟ ما إيجابيات هذه التغييرات وسلبياتها؟ وكيف ننشئ بيئة تعليمية سليمة تواكب متطلبات سوق العمل؟ هذه الأسئلة وغيرها يناقشها ضيفنا سعادة الدكتور سعيد خلفان الظاهري، مدير مركز الدراسات المستقبلية في جامعة دبي، ضمن محاضرتنا الآن بعنوان استشراف مستقبل التعليم 2050.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب
In the name of God Almighty, the most gracious, the most merciful, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace of God be upon you all. My name is Mariam Al-Qalb, Vice Researcher at ECSSR in Scientific Research. I'm honored today on behalf of His Excellency Dr. Sultan Muhammad Al-Naimi, the Director General of the ECSSR, to welcome you all at a new session through which we are hosting an elite of Emirati intellectuals entitled Envisioning the Future of Education in 2050. Shed light on the most important characteristics of education. 2050 is an honor to welcome His Excellency Dr. Saeed Khalfan al-Daheri, Director Center for Future Studies at the University of Dubai. Before starting, let us know our host. He is an Emirati leader known in the world of technology. He has a 30-year experience in the use of technology in the government and private sector in the UAE. And in his professional life, he took a number of positions: Director General, the founding Director General of the Identity, and a member for space, and a consultant for the foreign minister and the system of technology and in the metaverse as part of the economic forum. And he has the today Director Center for Future Studies at the University of Dubai, and he is a visiting professor at Oxford. He has a number of studies. How does the UAE build a future based on creativity and technology? A number of articles have been published, such as at Harvard Business Review, the Arabic language. And now it's an honor to call on Dr. Saeed Khalfan al-Daheri to start his presentation. May the peace of God be upon you all. Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It's an honor today to be a guest in ECSSR. This platform, which is of vital importance, and as such, today we shall be speaking or showcasing the results of a study that we started last year, 2020, or this current year, 2022. And we shall showcase the results of the study in overseeing the future of higher education 2050. This is a study at the Future Studies in Dubai University in cooperation with some of the other universities in the UAE, higher technology, headed by Dr. Abdul Latif al-Turaifi, former Director General, and Dubai University, headed by Dr. Al-Bastaki, and RIT, Rochester, Institute of Technology in Dubai as well. In addition, definitely Cambridge, which is known a main partner in our studies, and we shall showcase today, hopefully, some of the recommendations of the experts that we have seen, almost 7 in the UAE and in UK and Italy. We have 25 minutes where we shall be speaking about this subject in a presentation. We open the floor afterwards for questions. Can I use this? Yes, of course. Let us talk about the future of higher education, overseeing the future. And today, the ECSSR is playing a very important role in the strategic thinking and at the level of the UAE. This study, it was according to the methodology of a scientific methodology, the Houston University. When we talk about foresight, we think of artificial intelligence or one of the technologies. Of course, it will constitute and play a very important role in the future. But definitely, this has a methodology and a scientific way in the studies, and therefore, part of our work today at the ECSSR and to train the employees on this methodology to foresee the future. How can they go forward in this methodology? And at the end of the day, we come out with alternative scenarios, because we cannot prophesize the future. And those who can do that, those who are saying that we shall have this or that, and we give numbers. These are prophecies, and no one can know if it is correct or wrong. We do not prophesize, and we have people who foresee things, foresee the future. We do not draw one single future, because today's future might take different forms and different alternatives and perspectives. This is a very important point. We are trying to oversee or see the signs that might constitute the future. We're talking here about the artificial intelligence, the new techniques, chat GPT, political changes, social changes, environmental changes, economic changes. So we always see the horizon through these 5 horizons: deep, social, technological, economic, environmental, and political. And as such, we are trying to see, will they increase? Will they decrease? What can affect and be an impactful element in what we are talking about? And here we are talking about the future of education in 2050. This methodology, of course, we have taken it into account, and we have used some of the tools to foresee the future. So it is constituted of 3 phases. The first phase is reading the future. We want to read the very important signs that play a very important role in the future of education throughout the next 30 years, or in the future according to the time frame that we want to use. Perhaps this time frame might be 10 years, might be 20 or 30 or more. So therefore, this is first. We can try to evaluate these signs according to its intensity, its credibility, from where it came. And therefore, after the first phase, after seeing the future and evaluating these signs, we move to overseeing. We start to use some of the tools, such as the triangle of the future. Suhail Inayatullah, he is Pakistani living now in Australia. He has created this. This triangle sees what has pressured us, where we cannot move. Second, what are the things that attract us to the future? Third, we are talking here about the motives. What are the things that pushes us to the future. So from the triangle, we try to take what is called dimensions of scenarios. We're talking here, can we take this dimension of technology along with the societal or the political? And as such, we draw different scenarios that the future might take. One of them that we're talking about. And last phase, we start to talk about the preferable future and what are the recommendations made available. So we have gone through this methodology according to these tools, and at the same time so that we can ascertain this thing, because we are foreseers, not experts in education. I'm not saying that I'm an expert in education, knowing that I have spent my life in education. But at the same time, we have done interviews with the experts of or leaders of education in the UAE, in addition to the leaders of education in the world, in Cambridge and other countries, Italy, for instance. So definitely we have refused 45 signs of the signs of change that can affect, and we have divided it into 3 main sectors. Today, what affects change in the manners of education? And we try to speak about hybrid education, which is between virtual and reality. We're talking here about the artificial creativity. And this is important. Today we are seeing, we haven't really foreseen the chat GPT. At the same time, when we carried out this study a year ago, we said that artificial intelligence will play a very important role in creativity. So it will help us in drawing, it will help us in writing, it will help us in inventing. And this is what we have said before we know that there is something called ChatGPT. And perhaps these signs are there for the next 30 years. But these have been achieved this year. So technology, it's very quick and continuous. So we have tracked these signs. As you can see, the green ones means there is growth and it's increasing. The signs that have orange color, they are decreasing. The value of the certificates and institutional change at the level of the university in the future, the certificate, will it be worthwhile? And you've seen the experts talking and big companies who are appointing people with no university degrees, especially in the world of data scientists or a programmer. People would go to these courses such as Coursera, EDX, and would take a 6-month course, and he is very good in programming. And a company like Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Apple would employ this person compared to the university student who has studied 4 years in university. So in the future, will it have worth? And how can we keep it, keep this university certificate? This is destabilizing to the universities. So if I want to study, it doesn't have to be 4 years. In less than a year, I can get a certificate and I get employed. But this is what we mean by education. We are taking small micro-credential certificates. What we mean by it is to build a flexible personality that can face life. And this personality is capable of reinventing itself. So these signs, of course, 45, they are there. And of course, if we walk properly when it comes to the sites in this presentation. So every sign, we have spoken about it. For instance, we can say that there is a crisis of leadership today. The leaders that can lead throughout the crises, they are limited, and there will be a crisis of leading in the future. We're talking here about the scalable learning. Today, education is not only in the university, but it can be as well at work. It can be in the society. It can be in the house. So these 45 signs that we have tracked and spoken about and clarified so that we can know what to talk about. What are these signs that we're talking about? So therefore, if we move from this session to the other session and we asked of the experts that we have, we tell them these are 45 signs, 20 very important signs that you see are important, and you have to evaluate them. And you evaluate according to the degree of impact on the future of education and the degree of uncertainty. So these signs, are they ambiguous or not? So we see that it's getting disclosed and we can know what's going on, or there is a kind of ambiguity. So this change definitely, and these points would really insinuate a group evaluation. So these are individual, and this briefing is a group evaluation. And we have drawn it on a matrix made up of 4 squares. The first one is focus. Here, this square, we want to build scenarios because we have a high degree of ambiguity. Second, action. So these signs today should be worked on. We cannot wait to build a new scenarios. We need to put it in the strategic planning for the institution. The second one, or the third one, we can see that they are like signs. It's not important. Perhaps after 10 years, after 15 years, perhaps things might develop, and the monitor it is monitoring. Let us monitor this sign because it might be as part of the focus, and perhaps it might be as part of the action. So definitely here we can see the evaluation. Perhaps let us give you an example. 15. You can see it in the park square. So we are talking here about the liberal arts. Those experts who have evaluated it, they said that it's not that strong. Let us stop it and put it in the park. But you have number 10, sign number 10, which is pen and paper. So monitor, put it at monitor. So yesterday, my colleague, Dr. Fawaz, sent me in Australia today, and this is the World Economic Forum. They have spoken about it now. They started to go back to the paper and pen. What does this mean? It means that we have started in our lives using electronic education and give children iPad and iPhone, and they started using the writing on the iPad and iPhone. They have forgotten how to write manually, and it makes a difference psychologically for the studies. Psychological studies that mention that writing on a piece of paper has an impact in consecrating or enrooting the information and acquiring the information compared to typing. So the responsiveness of Australia after ChatGPT. So they said, we will not be examining the students electronically. If they have a composition, they will write it on a piece of paper. And this sign, perhaps we have put it, definitely there's a growth, but this one will happen. Perhaps on the level of Australia, will it become big? And after 30 years, will the world go back to the paper and pen instead of the iPad? And electronic education, this is one of the signs that we're studying. You can see the remaining studies focus and action. We need to work on it. We need to put it as part of the strategic plan and focus. We need to work on building scenarios because we don't know how it might be, the future of these signs and in what field. This is for the triangle of the future, future's triangle. This tool, developed by Sahel Ainayatullah, we see from the signs that we have 3 corners in this triangle. We're talking here about the weight of the past. What is this thing that will not allow us to move towards the future? Fear of change, thinking of old school. Some people have old school thinking. Government, laws and regulations which are stringent, and the policies which are stringent, scholastic policies inside the universities, politics in universities, bureaucracy, and culture, social valuation. These are elements that pushes us. So why are we more depending on technology? We are seeing today in the universities that the certificates do not have any worth, and the students after Corona, there's a decrease in the number of students studying at universities. Most importantly, if we speak about America or Canada, because they are paying money, and when they study 4 years and they have a financial burden, which means loans, and they work 10 to 15 years to settle the loans of the studies at the university. So they would say it's better to take a micro credential certificates from one of the institutions, Coursera. One of the universities started to adapt, and they started giving these certificates. Why do I let a company to give it? As a university, I give these certificates. If they want it, why not? Where are we of that? Of course, we have a very important leadership. We're trying to focus now and think of micro-credentials. What about attracting the future? We're talking here about the subscriptions of education for life. University, for me, it's not within 4 years where I can get a certificate. It's a subscription in education. This mentality is called lifelong learning. If I am to stay or to keep what I have learned, and I've graduated in the year 1995 from America, and if I didn't continue, I wouldn't have reached to where I am. So I've taken the principle of lifelong learning. So it's not the end of the day, it's a beginning perhaps for a new life, and hopefully, therefore, this personality that we want today in every one of us, to pass through phases. And education, it's not only linked to university. We call it a subscription to life. So you learn even after you graduate and take your certificates. And I was obliged to take courses 3 to 4 months. Now, data ethicist, which is an ethical person in the data. The ethicality in data plays a very important role in the use of artificial intelligence. So there's future, a triangle. Why do we draw it? Because it will help us in clarifying the scenarios and in achieving or defining its dimensions. Here we can see what are the things that can affect, what are the dimensions that we can take and affect the future. Technology is one of them. And to consecrate technology, so technology, it is in the yellow color. We might have an advanced technology or belated. So the ownership of the universities, it might be owned by companies, for instance, or institutions such as Google, let's say, and it might be owned by government or public sector. If we've taken all these dimensions, you can see the way in the way they teach. So it is unified. It doesn't take into advantage the differences of people. So everyone has his own degree of understanding and specificity compared to specialized education. If we are to draw all these aspects, what can we take today? So that we can draw this scenario. We've taken this rational thinking of the society today, the society, and talking about the idea. So do we call it rational? Because it might be, it might have a number of aspects under it. The other one, in the scenarios, we're talking here about the methods of learning. These methods, are they modern? Are they advanced? Or traditional? Compared to the past, and we have built 4 scenarios. These scenarios, we have given them names. So we take or give a symbol. So first we have said that it is lifelong learning, the second scenario. So artificial education, so everything is artificial. And the third one, which is the collapsed learning. No one wants it, of course. And the fourth scenario, we're talking here about the limited education, so it's in between. So definitely we have put the narrative and we started to describe these scenarios from the signs that we have spoken about. So definitely education for life or lifelong learning, subscribing to universities. For the remaining of his life, he would come back to university after graduating. He would want to acquire new skills to merge with the international or big institutions. We see that the future universities might be in coordination with the public sector or private sector and the big companies. So to depend on the metaverse and virtual reality. Dr. Abdul Latif last time spoke about the concept of metaverse university, virtual university working on metaverse to turn into a multi-knowledgeable person. There is a direction. So instead of having a very narrow profession, I have only computer science, I have nothing else. No. So if we go back to the past, they were astronomers and they were medical personnel. So definitely if we see the future, will we have a variety or diversification in the jobs? And here the university started to work on it. You are studying computer science, try to study human resources or human sciences, because now they are interlinked. So personalized learning, the system based on depending on crowd accreditation. So instead of having it accredited by an institution, it will be by crowd, my own skills. This was lifelong learning, artificial learning, the MISA traditional learning universities that will lose a huge number of the members of the teachers. Perhaps it might be subscription, perhaps someone might learn from the platform. So there is definitely a lack in the teachers, no discipline for students. Perhaps I might take a course or two in this university and another course from IBM, for instance, and I get a university degree. So this concept, we do not have it. You can study 4 years. In 4 years you are finished, and these materials you need to take, and there has to be mandatory subjects. So the education have been put in the past. Now, when we are talking here about the agricultural or industrial cycle and so on and so forth, so the world is changing. So people are measured when it comes to the level of their own capabilities to reach artificial intelligence. So this collapsed learning, there is no value, of course, and now the degree has no worth whatsoever. There is a lack of a trust in the GZ or Alpha and the micro credentials. So all people would go to micro credentials. So it's better to take several small certificates to get me a job instead of studying 4 years at university and limited education. There is a partnership with the big institutions, the limitness of depending on the techniques. We're not really depending on techniques. So to fight for preserving the students, universities are fighting. So as we see today, there's a drop in universities to depend on the entity and the traditional institutions. So we are drawing scenarios. So this depends definitely on the government and on the institutions, and where do they see themselves? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the first square, which is lifelong learning? So universities that are adapting with the changes. So one of the interviewees, Dr. Youssef, he says, when I have a master's program, even in the baccalaureate, a student would go to a company such as IBM or Google or Microsoft and learns the skills that I want to plant it inside the students. I give him a credit. Why do I oblige him? You need to get this course or that course. I have all courses at the university. Go and get trained in these companies. So the concept now has changed. So these are scenarios that we have drawn. Of course, these interviews that we have done with the leaders of education. Dr. Abdul Latif, what does he say? The organizer should be flexible. We're talking here about the ministries of education, the entities of academic accreditation. They need to be flexible and follow up the international directives, and the changes do not really commit to the science that they have put 20 to 30 to 40 years ago. They needed to follow up on the update, the understanding of the campus, university campus. Dr. Abdul Latif always calls for that. Why don't we have it as a mall, work as a mall? You like to go to a mall, you like to get a coffee with your friend. So why don't we turn this campus into a social place like the mall? Of course, the student some of the things he would take it online, but at other things he would learn it from the universities. He would go to the laboratory and to do experiences. So why don't they really meet with their friends, with the teachers, and have coffee and talk about things? Why do we not have it as a social place to attract the students? Because these want to go, leave them. How can you bring them back through this concept, which is the new social campus or hybrid campus, to promote the use of technology such as metaverse, artificial intelligence, in providing specialized or personalized learning and more interactive? And this is a very important point, to engage the student in developing the educational institution methodologies. Today, our universities, are they in reality engage the students? You said, Doctor, he said, Doctor, put under engage a line. So we ask him, what do you want to learn? We cannot tell him, go and get the SAT or else you will not enter university. You would see the reaction. Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed has interfered and the ministry started to talk about this issue. So this is what Dr. Abdul Latif has said. Dr. Isa said we can learn from any place. Perhaps we can learn from any place at any time. So it is a specialized, pushed by technology, artificial intelligence. The time of change is important. If the student today want to finish in 2 years and 3 years, and they are active and smart and they're working hard. So I am to measure the student according to certain skills. And therefore, these students, have they got the skills at a short period of time, or it has taken 5 to 6 years? So definitely, I cannot really oblige the student into 4 years or 5 years. Perhaps 5 years you might be late, but therefore the university is done. And this is what Dr. David Cardwell has said. He is the deputy head of strategies and planning at Cambridge. So he says that changing the criteria of accepting students at the university is built on MSAT, for instance, or SAT. So those who have put these plans are administrators. How can we have this policy of acceptance? Shouldn't be based on testing. I am measuring the child. What does he want to learn himself? So when we start a new criteria, and we can say to turn, this is very important point, to turn into what is better for the student compared to what is better for the university. Today, universities look at what they have as better or not what they are students. Of course, they want to teach the students, but they tell you we have a structure, we have a studious plan, and you need to accept this. This education, which doesn't really measure the differences. Is it better for the child or for the university? This is one. Dr. Yusuf Asaf, the head of Rochester University in Dubai, he says that going to open universities today, perhaps they have several universities that might deal with each other. We have taken from the Emirates University, the Khalifa University in Abu Dhabi, and technology. So at the end of the day, they took a really good degree, but it should be accredited from the Ministry of Education, the open universities, to go to different specializations. So multidisciplinary, this is an ever-growing thing. So learning as a service, similar to what we're seeing here in the cloud, in the computer. So all the services, software as a service, infrastructure as well, to learn as a favor. I take it as a favor. I can learn from any place because I like it. So this studying, which is common between mankind and and a robot, what we need to control university, and the presence of a teacher is necessary. So I do not really think that after 30 years we will get rid of the teacher at university, or else everyone would go and study, and so we cannot really relinquish the teacher, but definitely the things that will help him, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and the other tools will help the teacher and the student to learn. This one, Colleen, is an expert of education. She says that taking heed of values and social environmental aspects. So after Corona, today the students have changed, and now they are seeing the university that they want to learn. So this university is linked to the values and other tools. So the students will choose the universities that go hand in hand with their own values and the principles of equality and balanced dialogue, respecting the perspectives of others and sustainability. Today, universities need to finish very good. And COP28 today, we have it this year. So how to look at sustainability, a very important part. We're talking here about sustainability, social sustainability. The members of the society, they have this mentality in the economy of water, of electricity. So if I can really think wisely, why don't I? Because they are more elements. Thank you very much, indeed. Give me 2 minutes. And of course, everyone have said that we're talking here about the Renaissance man. And they're saying that the world in space in very different specializations. Dr. Robert have spoken about education. So education for the mind and the heart. So education should enter into the mind, and it should enter into the mindset. This vocational education is of vital importance, and I could bring a new expert, which is the ChatGPT. Let us ask him, what do you think? Because I asked him, ChatGPT, you are an educational expert today. Consider yourself one of those, or even better. So give me 4 very important recommendations to turn it, and they would really affect the destabilization of the higher education institutions for the next 30 years. He said that the institutions should really invest in technology, should use it in improving the results of education, the participation of the students, and guaranteeing to reach education for all. It should be education for all, to give the priority to develop the skills needed in addition to work, such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication, culture, smartness, and this is very important. Very important. Educational choices, it should be flexible, such as hybrid between online and on-site, so which is documented, and the competencies. We measure the competencies of the students. They can take it in a short time. Yes, of course, if they want. If they had taken a long time, it goes back to the student to deal with the government, public sector, private sector, and related entities. There should be a communication between the industrial sector and private sector, and to carry on really wanting the opportunities for students, giving them job opportunities, real job opportunities, and training that would meet the needs of those people. This is the word of GPT. You can see it in this slide, perhaps the last one. Here I asked him, of course, he started talking, and he said, try to give me concise answers. He has given me so many different answers, 5 to 6 stories that I cannot read, chat GPT, and he has told me about this, and then I told him to translate it. So he has created a translation into the Arabic language, and he has given me these small points in the Arabic language. Thank you for this great presentation, which has created a number of questions regarding the future of education. In light of the high technological advancement, what is the more important tools upon which university education should be based on to use the successful adaptation for the outputs of education and for the platforms of education after 2050? Of course, there are certain tools in education perhaps I have spoken about, and we need to really base our work on it. In my opinion, I think that there are certain skills which are firm. It will not change, not now, not ever. And the experts speak about it. So which is the critical thinking to find, to solve solutions. This is a very important skill that we wanted to plant in every student. How can we think in a very creative manner, in a critical manner? How can we have the capability to solve problems? Because today we are not really graduating or, similar people, or for now, only for the future and the changes in the future. Perhaps we might not know anything about it. So the presence of a person who has this skill is very important. Strong communication also is very important. Emotional intelligence is very important. To deal with others and with other teamwork to deal with others. So these skills are constant, and there are other technological skills ever changing, and we say that digital literacy, which is this digital culture. So we need to have the capability to use the chat GPT, the techniques in an effective manner, in addition to the other technological specializations, talking about it in data science and machine learning. So there are a lot of specializations. So main skills which are constant and ever-changing skills that the job market might need. And this depends on the student, but a main reference idea, which is the mentality. The mentality of getting the education for life. The student or the person should not really be satisfied that I have graduated, these are my skills. Today we give you, for example, and I've spoken about this. Now we look at the chat GPT. How do we deal with that? What is the way and the skill that the people are talking about? Profit engineering, the engineering of inquiring. So with the artificial intelligence and generative, the way we deal with it through explanation. So whatever is written, it becomes an output. You need to know exactly what you want from it to give you the information that you need. So long life learning and the skills that we're talking about. This person in one of the companies, he has a skill $300,000 per year. So we're talking here about 1 million dirhams per year. Regarding chat GPT, as part of the work of the UAE government to benefit from the techniques of ChatGPT and its impact on the future in all educational sectors, health sector, educational media sectors. How do you analyze this step and its future dimensions? Very important question. Of course, we have seen this at the level of the world. We have 30 organizations. For instance, this program has started 30 November. On the 2nd of December, National Day, I have written a tweet. I asked ChatGPT, I'm one of the first people who use this. On the 2nd of December, I asked ChatGPT to congratulate the United Arab Emirates on its National Day. So he has given me words to congratulate the UAE on the occasion of the National Day. How do the countries deal with that? We have seen countries supportive or against. New York has stopped GPT in education, also Australia, because there are problems. Definitely students are using it and so on and so forth. So here in the UAE, our wise leadership, God bless it, they said no. They have carried out a study. How can we use the ChatGPT in a way that we can benefit? And therefore, perhaps in some of my tweets, I said today we have to, definitely the government institutions and the ministries. So first of all, to get a policy of using ChatGPT, similar to the fact that we have a policy of using the internet and the social media networks and ChatGPT. Why? Because today we need to realize that it's a company, OpenAI, it's a company, its objective is gains. And it has trained ChatGPT on information present on internet until November 2021 or December 2021. So its education has stopped until 2021. Perhaps they might create updates, no problem. There are problems, definitely. So in the issue of a challenge, we're talking here about asking of GPT. So talk about Trump and Biden. So he said, Trump, I will not really sing. So he started with Biden. Definitely, there is political prejudice and disinformation. Those who want to write it today. And we've heard yesterday in New Jersey, one of the publication houses, Clarkswood, throughout a month, people have given stories. ChatGPT have produced it because people now are paying for these stories. So 700 formats and 700 stories, 500 of which they have been refused. So this policy has to be clear. How to use the ChatGPT, how the manner in which we can explain or inquire, and the issues of prejudice. So therefore, do not take everything that the ChatGPT is giving you and would tell us this is the answer. So I asked, when did the Future Museum open? So it has opened in 2022 because its training was till 2021. He gave me 2017. Any student might take this information and give it to the teachers. Therefore, there is a rate of mistakes to really know the information. It's important. So to give us information, definitely, but certain truths, if it wasn't really there and it's correct, sometimes it might hallucinate and take stuff that do not exist. They might create. So the issue of hallucination. So it's very important to know the challenges, the limitations that we have in the ChatGPT are important. And I've mentioned the prompt engineering, which is very important. We are learning. Everyone should learn about this. Whenever I see something published, I see how can I improve. So you are two characters. You are a good character and a mean character. Talk with the bad character and enter into a conversation. This chat at GPT, which is good, talks with a bad one, and the other would answer him with bad words. So imagine today it's a double standards. How do we use it? How do we consecrate it to a good thing? How can we learn from it? This is important, and therefore the culture today, it needs a culture and training courses how to use the issue of chat GPT in a good way. Yeah, I hope that I have answered you. Thank you, Doctor. At the end of this presentation, I would like to reiterate our thanks and gratitude for Dr. Saeed Khalfan Al-Dahiri, and all the thanks for you, everyone. And until we meet again, may the peace of God be upon you all.